Welcome to the Spark Konnect podcast. Today's guest is someone whose journey is both powerful and deeply human. John Register is an Olympic-level athlete, a Paralympic silver medalist, a keynote speaker, and someone whose message about resilience and reinvention is deeply inspiring. In this conversation, we talk about his concept of amputate to elevate. The idea that sometimes we have to cut away comparison, distraction, or even old identities in order to fully step into what matters most. We also explore stamina, recovery, performance, and the surprising overlap between athletics, speaking, and human connection. And somewhere along the way, John casually reveals that he's also a musician, which was such a fun surprise for me. This episode is thoughtful, motivating, and incredibly real. I think you're going to walk away reflecting on what you need to let go of in order to elevate what matters most in your own life. Enjoy my conversation with John Register. Oh, what a day it is. I get to be with John Register today, and I just can't wait for what we are going to learn. And so without further ado, John, welcome to the Spark Konnect.
I am so excited to be here. Listen, I'm the one who's excited to be on your podcast. So thank you so much for the invitation.
Oh, you are so kind. And I'm so happy to be meeting with you and getting to know you today. It just feels like such an honor. You're a Hall of Fame speaker. I'm going to let you say it is. John, could you please introduce yourself and tell us all about you, what you do? And also, I was going to say your form of athleticism, but I think there's some other things that might be happening here today that you're surprising us with. So tell us all about you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's hard to introduce, like myself, because I don't know where to start and what people might find interesting. But for the show's purpose, yes, I was an athlete. I still swim as a form of just physical fitness, but I was a three-time track and field All-American from the University of Arkansas in track and field, ran the high hurdles, the long jump, and then ran the mile relay teams. Then went to the Olympic trials in the high hurdles, and then later on the long jump and the 400-meter hurdles. Was a combat veteran. So as part of the Army's world-class athlete program, I went to Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, came back without a scratch, and trained for my second Olympic trials, this time in the 400-meter hurdles. And along the way, on that pathway, went to Germany for I guess it was for about 2 years. It was a 3-year assignment, but I came back when I was training for my third Olympic trials. I wound up having a misstep over a hurdle. I dislocated my left knee. I severed the artery behind my kneecap, and then 7 days later, I became elected to become an amputee. And so that kind of flows to what is, you said the secondary piece. So all the time, I think that a balanced life has lots of elements to it and not just one thing where all your eggs are in one basket. So during my time at Arkansas, I continued to sing. I was in 5 choirs in high school, and I wound up being in 2 or 3 choirs at Arkansas, as well as I continued for a couple of years playing cello, because I played cello from 6th or 7th grade all the way through high school, and probably 1 year in college. So I still have my cello in the background right here. I still play. I scratch on it every once in a while, as I say. But I have, I think it's good to have a wide breadth of things to do, as not just outlets, but takes your attention and focus to other areas of life.
Did I just see, I was looking at a recent post that you had from just a couple of days ago about how much we get our identity wrapped up in the things that we do, and how you have to face how you're becoming that thing rather than who you really are. Can you speak to that? I think you posted about that.
Yeah, there's things that we often will. What I was thinking about when I was thinking about that post was we often look at what somebody else has, and we begin to desire that, instead of looking at what is it that I truly desire and that I want, and be congruent with that.
Yeah.
I don't need to be validated by somebody else. And I think if we are being validated by other people, we're less and less likely to be our true, our authentic selves, because we're always chasing somebody else's dream. or
Right.
somebody else is chasing our dream. I think we should have we can learn from people, of course, but I don't think that we should be following the footsteps in someone else's dream that they want, because all of us are created individually, uniquely. We're distinct in who
Yeah.
we are. So let's focus in on that. So I think, as I talked about a little earlier, I had to amputate my leg. I always talk about, what do we need to amputate in life in order to elevate? And I think one of the things we have to do is amputate comparison.
Mhm. Oh my goodness. I have this little monster that hangs around me called the comparison creep. Absolutely. And what I try to do is I try to say, if I'm noticing something that someone else is doing and I'm finding myself comparing myself to them, I try to say, okay, listen, I'm me. I have my own journey, my own thing. I try that. And then I go, and I'm going to allow that little comparison creep moment to be just a data point that says, I must really like that thing. It's trying to tell me something. And so maybe I just need to look at, like, what is it about that? Because the last time I checked, I wasn't jealous of the person who went to outer space.
Right, right.
Like, I just don't even want that. So I didn't even care. I was just happy for them, And so if that thing was bringing something up in me, then maybe it's a data point that I can use, but try not to get into, absolutely under no circumstances get into that. Well, I want to do it just exactly like them because, well,
Sure.
I've got to be me.
Yeah, or living up to what other people think that you should be,
Yeah.
which is another one. Like, we'll write in our high school yearbook, right? Most likely to fill in the blank. And then when it comes time for a 10-year, 15, 20-year reunion, we don't want to go back because we haven't lived up to that expectation of what we either wrote down or somebody else wrote about us, because life took a totally different turn. Life, as the kids say, my kids say, life be life, and dad, you just have to go with it. And yeah, you want a course of direction, you want to focus on where you want to be, but you also have to have some breadth to it, because it might not work out the exact same way that you think it's going to work out. I'm working on a project right now, and what I've learned is never to go into a project thinking it's going to do exactly what you think it's supposed to do.
There's so many things, yeah. And for those of us that want everything to be organized and planned out, it's a hard lesson, but it's the truth. What recently came to mind that reminded you of that?
I'm working on something right now. It's a big project, and I'm getting a little frustrated with it, and I have to remember that phrase, right? Right, that philosophy, that it's, yes, I wanted to do this thing over here. I wanted to impact these executives, these CEOs, in such a way that I'm thinking about it, but maybe it's going to do it from a different angle. But I have to go through this process first in order to get to the other process. So right now,
Mm,
I'm reaching out. I'm doing all the stuff that's the tedious things, sending bomb videos, trying to find people on LinkedIn and connect with them, just so that we can connect and share. Because I know we have a similar focal point, but I just don't know if it's, it's competing for attention right now. We're all doing that, and interrupting somebody's day is an interruption because they're focused on what they need to do to build their business. But if they pause for a moment, I think the most important thing is to pause and get your head up to look around on a swivel for just a second. You might find something that you didn't see before,
right.
and that could help you with the thing that you're needing to do. But you have to take that respite in order to get your head up. I will say, in the military, when we returned back from theater, we recovered our equipment. Right, that means we rested, and we rested the equipment, and we made sure that everything was ready for deployment for the next time.
Hmm.
In track and field, it was very important for us to rest and recover from a hard workout, because if we didn't, we couldn't do the next workout at that same optimum speed. So for your constituents out there, your folks who are following you, I would offer this as kind of one of those things, put your foot on. And that is, build in your rest and recovery as part of the process, because you'll find that you're going to need those breaks, those micro wins, and just make sure that you're building them into the overall project and not just at the end of the project.
Yeah, boy, I found that out yesterday at the gym. It was like 5 days in a row, and I didn't go today. I'm not going to be productive today. I need to have that moment of rest. Before I forget, on a side note, do you remember what was written in your high school thing for what the
I have no, but I have my books over here, so I could probably go and pull one out. I
most
mean,
likely?
I wasn't really I was involved in a lot of things, so I had a lot of friends across the school, and our school was huge. It was massive. I mean, just shy of 4,000 people in the school. So being involved with sports, of course, I was on the football team, the track and field team. So a lot of people, when they go to the high school football games, they know you because you're a persona on the field. Then they see you in the classroom, right? And so that persona is either amplified or vilified, if however you want to say.
Whichever way that goes, depending on the sport, I
Depending on
suppose.
sport, yeah, the sport. But I was also in music, so I would lead some of the songs, the high school cheer songs and things at our assemblies, and I was in barbershop quartet and Oak Park Singers, which is the show choir. So I got a chance to be on stage a lot during that, and so people knew me from those. And I was in the jazz band, so I was one of the vocalists in the jazz band. So all these things were kind of coming to fruition at that time as an individual high school student. And I think what we have written on our yearbooks are things that reflect that. And so I'm very fortunate because even though I didn't probably do what I thought I was going to do, I know I did have an article written about me that said the mythical 25 feet or something like that. I think my best friend, at the time, best friend Andrew Dudley, he wrote that article for our trapeze newspaper. And so I wound up going to the Olympic trials, right? So that was written in the yearbook. And I wound up winning a silver medal. That was written in the yearbook. So those things did manifest themselves just in different ways. Remember, I said things come out differently.
Right.
I wanted to become an Olympic class athlete. I became a Paralympic athlete.
Well, that's what I want to talk about that because I know that we stopped at you were during the trials is when that happened. But then you went on to become a Paralympic silver medalist more than once, right?
Yeah, well, silver medalist one time, but a two-time two-sport Paralympic athlete. So after my injury, I swam for physical therapy. I got so fast in the water that I somehow fluked up, messed up, and actually made the Paralympic swim team.
What? Wow.
And it was yeah, right. That's what I said. What? I didn't
I had
realize
a friend who was on the show
team.
recently, John. He accidentally became an opera singer.
Yeah,
he was going through something else and they heard him sing and they're like, no, you're a lead opera singer. And I'm like, you accidentally became an opera singer. You accidentally became an Olympian swimmer.
Right. I didn't even realize I made the team, to
That's
tell you
amazing.
the truth. I left. I didn't think I made it. So I left and went back to Virginia. And the coach called me and said, why'd you leave before the team was announced? I said, well, I didn't make it because I needed a certain time. He said, well, idiot, your flip turn at the 50 meters was underneath the bona fide time we needed to see for making our team. So your flip turn was fast enough. We picked you up for our relay team. And so you're going to Atlanta, Georgia. And I said, what? So here I was thinking I wanted to become a 400-meter hurdler. And I go to Atlanta as a 50-meter freestyle swimmer and on a relay team.
Oh my gosh.
Totally different area, totally different of sport.
It's just completely amazing. Your story is incredible. You've turned it into, it's your message. It's what you keynote about today, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amputate to elevate.
Yeah, the keynote really has morphed into that, the Amputate to Elevate. And a lot of people are looking to put things on. So think about it as a New Year's resolution. Many people say, I want to lose the weight, or I want to, what's another one? I want to get stronger. I want to be more fit. But we don't look at what we need to strategically subtract in order to make that happen. We just begin piling the next thing on, and we get so piled on that we don't do any of it. So it becomes overwhelming for us. So that's what I'm talking about. When you're about to add something, look first at what you need to subtract or take away in order to elevate to that new nuance that you're seeing for yourself or for your client, for your company. And I think that is how we should look at things. What do we need to let go of, release of first? What do we need to amputate? And it could be something that's very difficult. It could be something that's very hard.
Yeah.
I was just writing today about amputating. A friend of mine was Alex, talked about what he had to amputate, and that was in his job. He started 11 companies, right? And he's sold 11 companies. In his current venture, he's learned that he has to amputate the need for being, perfect on something, right? Because if you hang out in perfection, you'll never start.
Right.
You'll always want the thing to be perfect, and it's never going to be perfect 100%. Even when you're just running, it's never going to be 100% perfect. So therefore, you have to, in my opinion, really amputate the need for that perfection and let that release and go and say, nah, it's never going to be perfect, but
Yeah.
I can get to the highest level of achievement as I desire and want
Yeah.
to.
I love that. You said to me, it's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. And it's challenging for people to maybe figure out what does matter most.
Right.
How do we go about determining what matters most?
You said, how do we do that?
Yeah. How do I do that? What's the answer
Yeah.
to the whole world?
The answer to the whole world.
It felt like a question that's the answer to the whole world.
Well, I don't know how a lot of people do it. I know how I do it, and it became very. I was at it was a very specific thing that happened to me. I was doing this entrepreneurship class for veterans. It was at the University of uh, State University, and in this class, this entrepreneurship class, a little woman, Pat Enriquez, gets up. She says, "What's the most important thing in your business?" And we all gave these different answers. And she said, "No, no, 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 no. It's none of it." And she said, "The most important thing in your business is how are you going to wrap up your business? Are you going to put it in the stock exchange? Are you going to bequeath it to your children? Are you going to just close the doors? How are you going to let it go?" And I said, "Wow, that's a really great way of thinking about business." So then that night, I went back to my room, hotel room, and I started thinking about it. It was really bugging me, right? And I probably thought about it for a good week, 2 weeks, a question. And I came up with, what do I want at the end of my life? And I wanted my God to say, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of my rest." So how do I do that? I got to seek God's kingdom first and his righteousness. All things should be added to me. And then I got to be careful on how I build upon the foundation of Christ that's already been laid. So I can build with gold, silver, and precious stones, or wood, hay, and stubble. The first wood, hay, and stubble, if they're tested by fire, they burn up. So I can be speaking all this stuff and not making a bit of difference to anybody that's out there.
Mm,
And there's no work that goes along with it. Or I can be the gold, silver, and precious stones and speak this context and philosophy out there, and it's elevating people. It's causing them to be enriched and grow,
yeah.
and then that's being refined by the fire. So I think we're always in a state of refinement. We need to be,
Mm,
and that's something that we can latch onto. So that's how I begin to see the end and the impact of my life.
I love that. That's a really important and thoughtful question. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You've done so many incredible things. It's amazing to me. And I wonder, as you are an Olympic athlete and you pick up the cello, were you ever thinking, in the future, I'm going to be on stages talking about all this stuff?
No,
No.
I never thought about being a professional speaker. I used to speak for my profession,
Hmm.
right? So I would try to get better speaking for the profession, so I could learn how to communicate with an audience. But I've been doing that for a very long time. Even growing up in, my dad was Presbyterian minister, so I was always up in front of an audience talking or doing something, but not as this, right? Not as having a concept or a pathway to help people walk through that amputate to elevate, right? So I developed over the course of the years on stage. When people would ask me, "How did you overcome the amputation?" I said, "Well, actually I didn't, because had I overcome my amputation, I would have my leg back."
Mm,
And that became the number one thing people said. They go, "Oh my, right." And so I was on to something there. And it was right before a TEDx that I did. And that is, it comes down to these three buckets, right? And this is what I teach in my keynotes, as well as breakout sessions afterward. And that you need to have a reckoning moment. And the reckoning moment is realized or hurdled when you understand that you do not get back what you desire to have back after some type of trauma has hit you. So, right. So then you have, once you graduate from there, now you're in the revision bucket. I want to cast a new vision on what is possible.
mm,
I don't know it's possible, but I think out there something might be possible for me. But there are forces that hold me back: other people, society, and
hmm.
myself. I can hold myself back. Society holds us back all the time. And then our surroundings, our closely knitted environments, they help hold us back too.
Yeah.
Usually our closest friends,
Yeah.
or closest family members. I don't know if you should do that right now. Kassy, I just think that this podcast, maybe you should put that on the back burner for a little bit,
Yeah.
and really focus on this other. And they're closest to us, so we begin to believe them, and we say, "Yeah, maybe you're right. I should probably do that." And that, again, that's somebody else trying to live your life through their lens, and we just can't do that. or shouldn't do that. And then finally, I'm the one that has to make the choice. I have to make the call. I have to make the commitment to the jump. And a commitment's a commitment. When the doctor amputates my leg, that's a commitment because I
Yeah.
don't get it back. When we make true commitments, we don't get back the thing that we had before.
Yeah.
If we
Yeah.
can, it's not a commitment.
Yeah.
It's a reckoning. It's not a commitment.
All of your training, how does it show up on the stage? All of your training as an athlete, or I know you're also a musician, a singer, vocalist.
Yeah, so there's some pockets where I'll sing a little bit on stage. They're inside of some bits that I have. Some comics call them bits. I call them little story vignettes that make a point, and I might use something like that. The athleticism, it shows up. I sometimes, if I'm doing the Amputate to Elevate and there's enough time, I show a video of me long jumping to the audience,
Oh,
and so
really
they
neat.
get a chance to see that as the culmination and the close. Other than that, I'm just kind of just talking. I do have a way that I deliver that I think is unique.
Yeah,
That
maybe like
gets
the way,
people
how it is
pumping.
about your process, or like the way that you show up on stage
Yeah,
as a body, maybe, or as a person. Like what are some of the things that you learned as an athlete
yeah,
or artist that show up in the way that you deliver when you speak? Yeah.
yeah. I think as an athlete, I show up. You have to be like as a hurdler or a 100-meter dash person. Even it's just a race and track. You are an individual, right? So you have to be very comfortable in that individuality. I can't race, even though I'm racing beside somebody, I can't run that person's race. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this is the comparison theme coming again. Like this is part of how you do that work.
That's exactly right. And so I can't take the same stride length, the stride steps over here as this person over here. I have to focus on my lane, my race, and know that I will be there in the end if I
Mm,
get my correct start and everything. So I
mhm,
think that's one way how it shows up. I think that the broader way is I do a methodology, which is I have a story that I will tell, and then I'll share a point. The point is mine, my point to the story, and then I'll say, "How about you?
mhm,
When was a time when you blank blank blank?" So that's 3, and then 4 is then I debrief that back to myself. I synthesize that. That's 5. What else do I do now? Then I do a synthesis of the information, and then I transition to the next point. So those are kind of what how I structure the presentation, and I mix and match them. They can be, I can start with the point first and then go back to a story. I can start with the synthesis. It doesn't matter where I start, but that's kind of the script in my head I'm following to make sure I cover the point. So it's for the audience and not for myself.
Do you think that structure comes from your training as an athlete or as an artist?
I think it comes from a little bit of both. I think it comes more from the artist side and having some structured training and communications,
Mhm, mhm.
and then trying to learn how can I best communicate the message I have. And that's what I came up with. It morphs a lot of people's training philosophies together. Most speakers will do a story and a point to their story, right? Sometimes they'll do a story, point, and application. I've seen rare, like keynote speakers. I don't see a lot doing story, point, application, and then debrief of what everybody else has learned in the room,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that you can actually synthesize information back to the main point. I think that's where it gets into, not that it's better than anybody else. But I think that's what touches the audience better, because now they're wrestling with the information in their own vernacular. And I can, once they give it back to me, I can actually synthesize it back to my main point as well. And then
Yeah.
transition to the next.
How are you getting them to give it back to you? What are some of the tricks or tips that you're using, or maybe tech?
Yeah, sometimes just raise the hand and then they'll share that way. Another one, if I have a big room, a large audience, and I'm looking to compare and contrast, I'll use a program, an online program called Mentimeter.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar. I was wondering if that's what you use. I love those.
Yep, they're great tools, and that's what I would say. They're tools. So I love being able to use them and then utilize that research that we have for future growth.
I think traditionally, like we straddle did that just turn into a workshop moment? And there's been this thing with speakers around that's the keynote, that's the workshop. But those lines are being very blurred today, and people they're more interested in the application moments and the opportunities to synthesize. And given all the tech type tools that we have today, those things are a little easier and quicker to do than ever before as well.
Yeah, I think one of the things we can do as speakers is to give activities that are on the table. So they're wrestling with the information.
Yeah.
I just don't leave stuff on the table. I just have people stand up and then I let them in on the joke. Like, how many of you really wanted to stand up, or
I
how
love
many
that.
said in their mind, oh my gosh, another freaking speaker's going to ask me to get up and get out of my comfort zone. So I
Yeah,
play into that, for
me
them.
too. I love
It's
that.
just to kind of make them come along with me. I'm part of the joke. So what else do you say next? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going back to, I love that, by the way. I
It's
think about,
good.
it's
Please
fun
use
to
it.
play with them. And I love when they play back with me. I remember having a situation one time where I was playing with the audience and then they got me back and I had to sit down and just laugh because I didn't recover from what they got back. They got me back, and I'm like, y'all got me. Okay, I'll stand up now. But,
Right. So
um,
where are we at? Where I
yeah,
go
what
with
are we
this?
doing? You
Where,
guys
where,
win.
I'm not.
So fun. But I was thinking on the idea of how we need to build in moments for rest and recuperation, like we talked
Yeah.
about earlier. And as I'm listening to you describe process and just what we do on the stage, I want to talk about stamina for a second, because this isn't something that always comes up
Mm,
it comes up among speakers. We
mm.
talk about it for sure, but I don't know that it's like a general topic that you might lead with, but like what it physically takes to be as energetic and to be the lead as you are as a keynote speaker, that has to, your athletic background has to inform how you show up in that space.
Yeah, it does. I am not a very, what would you call it? The motivational type speaker, beat your chest and follow after me and rah rah. That's not what I do. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not. There's no shade. I just that's just not my style. I am your surprise and delight speaker.
I love that reference, by the way. I went to heroic public speaking.
Did you go? Yeah, it's really good. I heard that term first back in 2012 when I went to my first what was known as the influence meeting before heroic public speaking was out there, and uh, because we were talking about the different types of speakers, so they used to have what was called the cavet, and that was a great place to learn about the National Speakers Association and this industry that had been built by all these amazing people that had kind of come through. So getting a chance to hear about the celebrity speaker or the technical rich speaker or the whatever speaker, right?
Industry
And
icon.
yeah, the industry icon, right? And so that's the celebrity inside of your industry.
Yeah.
And so you can have all these pieces, and that's the first time I heard that. Um, and so I think for me, let's try to figure out where I was going with that.
It's the stamina and the
The
athletic, and
stamina,
you're not the one who's jumping all over the stage and rah,
right?
rah, rah. But it still takes stamina to
It does take stamina,
energetically lead in a way that is true to who you are.
and it's more of a mental stamina for me. I mean, that there's definitely the physical, right? To get up on stage, holding the audience, and you're so in tune with what's going on. It's not just the delivery of the speech. It's okay, I'm noticing that a person just passed out over there. Let me draw the attention over to this side of the stage. Let me find the meeting professional to make sure that I'm good to continue to go, or does he or she need me to pivot to something else? A fire alarm just went off. Where are the
Right.
exits? I'm the person that's on stage. Where do I direct people to go if something happens like that? Okay, so there's all kind of things that are going on, and and that's the profession of the professional speaker.
By the way, new
Right?
fear unlocked. Thank you. I hadn't considered that one. I've been doing this a while too. Thank you.
They happen. So we're the one on stage, right? So it doesn't make sense for me to find the meeting professional that's he or she's running around trying to do all this other stuff, and we get an emergency that comes up. I'm the one that's the most that can get us out the fastest.
Right. Yeah.
Fast. And it's happened, right? Not necessarily a fire alarm to move out of the room, but somebody did pass out in an audience member, right? And I've had things happen, emergencies happen. That's happened at least 3 times to me. So we want to make sure that the person's okay, and what's the respectful tone that you need to have during that time.
Yeah.
And if you're really hyped and motivating, on the motivational side, you might miss it. Or if you see it, you got to kind of calm the room down to kind of address the situation, what's going on. The other thing, tech goes out all the time.
All the time.
So you have to learn that it's, tech's tech. It's going to happen, but they don't want to be seen. And so I've seen so many people say, well, we'll just wait till the tech gets going. It was right this morning. I'm not sure why it's not right now. And so all that stuff that it plays into the audience experience. And as I just went to Farmer Forum as an attendee, and I was in there, and I was exhausted just being an attendee because it is hard to sit through all of that content.
Yes,
So
it
I have to
is.
make it as light and really hold that audience in my hand
Yeah.
to walk them through a great experience
Yeah.
that they're going to remember after I leave, and then continue to follow up. So that's where the exhaustion comes in, and being able to manage that energy. Like, yeah, if I do three events in a week, I'm wiped out by Saturday. I'm just like, I got to sit down and just go, because I'm thinking so hard about the presentations.
It's so important. It's so
Yeah,
important to take care of yourself 100% that way,
the
and like in
stamina's
the
great.
different ways that matter to you. I love the spa. It's a great place for me because it's quiet. They don't like you to
Yeah,
have your phone next to you. So I agree with that.
right, and plan it. So I've been sharing this with a lot of executives recently, because they run after quarter after quarter after quarter, and there's no break. Right,
Hmm.
you're just running after this number, and you meet it, and then you're on to the next number. And I'm saying, throughout the year, like, take October or whatever month and just plan when you're going to take your recovery for the next year.
Yeah. What's that recovery going to look like?
What's going to look like. I do that in October. That's why I said October. And so I take the team, and the first dates that we put on the calendar for the next year are the days we're not going to work.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you to teach us something, and I think you just did.
Yeah, that's the
Right there.
first thing, because you want to protect those days. And I learned that from NSA. I learned that from the other is pay yourself first, whatever that means, right? It's not necessarily you're paying yourself first for your livelihood and get going doing whatever,
Not
blowing
being
money.
weird.
But what I'm saying is, like, make sure your 401k is taken care of, or your whatever you're saving in for your retirement. What's your retirement vehicle that you're using? Put some for, build out the nest egg for if something hits for 6 months and you can't work.
Yeah.
At least you got a savings of six months before that in a money market account or something. So I always continue to start building towards those things, so that you can build the business. You don't have to, like, somebody said to me earlier, they wanted to know about I think it was they wanted me to apply for this group that was like $1 million group. Like, you had to make over $1 million
Yeah.
in net revenue. I was like, I don't want to make.
I don't want to work that much.
I'm cool. I'm good where I'm at. Right. I'm not trying to scale to something that's because it just takes so much more effort. You got more people on the payroll to do it. It's not, because it's not about speaking at that point, right? It's about selling your after products that you have.
I see.
If that's fine, if it comes like that, I'm
Mhm.
not going to knock it, but my goal is not that. My goal is to make sure that audience is impacted at an extremely high level. And my goal for that is to earn a living that's a lifestyle type living, that my wife and I now can travel whenever we really want to, and it's still taking care of the business and our family. My daughter-in-law works for the company, so making sure that everything, all the bills on the business side, get paid as well. So it's the balance of it all.
Right. Figuring out what's going to be the best for you and the life that you want to lead.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, John, I could talk to you all day. You're absolutely just a top performer, just so naturally and in every way. And it is so cool to learn from you and to see how you approach things. And, the concept of what do I need to get rid of? What do I need to amputate so that I can elevate? I love that. And I'm very drawn to that. Where can our listeners learn more about you and where you're headed to next?
Thank you for that, Kassy. Well, first is the website. My website is johnregister.com, common spelling, just John, like cash register. You'll get there. And then if you want to receive, I do a little podcast as well, but I push it in a newsletter, which is called a think letter. So I'm just some thoughts I have, usually for executives, and then I do it in a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and they can find that at John Register Beehive. Beehive is spelled 2 E's, 2 I's, no E. So
That's
it's
right. There's 2 eyes
BEE.
in the eye. Right.
Yeah. So
We'll put it in the show notes too.
BEEHIIV.com. Yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
Well, I'm going to go sign up for that right away.
Yeah, it's a little fun. I do it once a week, and it's you won't be inundated with stuff. every once in a while I say, oh my gosh, that was really good. And I'll put something out like on a Thursday instead of a Tuesday. So you'll get something extra, but it's bonus. It's never spammy. It's always something I believe that people can use.
Well, what happened to me in preparing to get to be with you today is I started looking at different things, and then, hours later, I'm clicking on everything. So if you have all these weird likes on things that are from like 3 months ago, it was me. It was
It's all good.
definitely not.
I appreciate it. I mean, it's a powerful tool, LinkedIn and some of the other social platforms. I'm very grateful for it, and I need to do more with that to get kind of get the message out. Just stay on my track of amputate to elevate,
Yeah.
and keep on moving it.
Well, it's very compelling, very powerful, and I thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your wisdom and your vulnerability too. It's awesome.
I appreciate it, Kassy. Thank you.
That's your spark. Now go light something up. And hey, if this episode lit you up, share it with a friend, a fellow facilitator, or someone who needs a little more connection in their day. Be sure to follow the Spark Konnect so you don't miss what's next. We've got more brilliant voices, bold ideas, and heart-forward conversations coming your way. Until then, stay curious, stay brave, and keep showing up.